Ladies and gentlemen, actually I am very happy to be in Cambridge. You know why? Because 103 years ago, a gentleman by the name of Arthur Balfour decided to issue something called Balfour Declaration. I think you have heard about it. And by the way, he was Cambridge graduate. And I'm not here, by the way, to blame you for what Balfour has done. But when I read in the Union letterhead defending free debate, isn't it like that? Since 1815, which is a very interesting year, by the way, 1815, from the Napoleonic Wars, I felt excited because definitely I'm coming to the institution where no pressure can be put on in order to change the wordings. I was invited to debate the issue whether the West should pressurize Israel to end the occupation. Then I came here and I found I am debating an issue called whether this house should pressure Israel to give land for peace. You know what does that mean? I don't understand why there was pressure on you to change the word occupation. Someone didn't want the word occupation to be here. No one in the world, no respected body or government or international law in the world does not recognize that the land of Palestine in 1967 was occupied, but Israel and the lawyers of Israel. No one. It is a fact. No one. United States of America, even UK that we are in. The word occupation is not controversial, ladies and gentlemen. It is the fact of the matter. And when we speak about occupation, there are legalities about occupation. This is the same terminology that this House adopted the resolution that the House will send the troops to defend Ukraine against the Russian occupation. The word occupation is important. Why was that removed from the motion? I wonder. Now, let us move on. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a Palestinian, of course, you know. And one of the most important lessons in my life was not actually in Palestine, it was in South Africa. I joined the South African struggle for freedom in 1995, and I continued to live in South Africa for about 8 years, monitoring the transformation in that country from an apartheid state into democracy through a terrorist, by the way, was classified even in UK as a terrorist, called Nelson Mandela. And then every argument I heard today from the lady and the gentleman are actually I heard from the white supremacists in South Africa. Every single argument was repeated exactly the same. That the blacks and the Africans are not qualified to run the... What if terrorists take over? What is going to happen? The whites will be annihilated in South Africa. And all these kind of things. This is why they offer them something called Bantustan. Exactly. The Bantustan that the Israeli government offered to the Palestinians right now in West Bank. And they tell you the Palestinians have autonomy. Serious? We read the news. I was a director of one of the most important news agencies in the Middle East. And you tell me that we have autonomy? We didn't know about that. Every single day the Israeli army is going into towns and villages and camps and killing people. And the Palestinians cannot stop them. The Palestinian police can never stop them, cannot talk to them. And what kind of autonomy do we have? When our water, 85% of the water in West Bank, is in fact used for the Israelis, and especially the Israeli settlers who are living, who have confiscated people's land and lived on it. Today, Beit Salim, issued a report. Beit Salim, by the way, is an Israeli organization. They issued today a report called Drying. And that in that report, if you go now to their website, you will see it. They are talking about how much an Israeli settler in West Bank is getting water versus the Palestinian. At least 3 times. Electricity, the same. Movement. We are not allowed to move from one village to another unless you go through many checkpoints. Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, the mosque in Jerusalem during the time of Ramadan, only certain category of people were allowed to worship in it. People who are about 55 years old. And the rest were not allowed. The Christians who went to celebrate their festival in the church as well, also they were prevented from doing that. And then we have autonomy. I did not know about that kind of autonomy that we are referring to, really. I wish if we have that kind of autonomy. Then we are going to annihilate the Israelis, the Jews. Really? Really? We have been living with the Jews for centuries. Our neighbors are Jews. Our friends are Jews. Judaism was an integral part of the Middle East for centuries. The Muslims and the Arabs protected the Jews when they were persecuted in Andalusia and they migrated to Istanbul. Since when we had a problem with the Jews? The issue of the Jews coming, establishing a homeland in Palestine was an Occidental issue, not Oriental issue. Not because we deny the Jews having freedom. It was the Western enterprise. It was the Western way of thinking, the double standards. This is why, by the way, when you say, let us pressurize the West, I have given up on the West, basically. The double standards, the hypocrisy. What kind of West are we pressurizing? The British, who stole the land of Palestine and handed over to Zionist organizations? The Americans, who have vetoed for the last 20, 30 years every single Security Council resolution that might restrict the Israelis from harming the Palestinians. What West are we talking about? I'm not talking about the Western governments. I'm talking about you, the generation that I feel today they are connected beyond the hegemony of the state and the hegemony of the mainstream media that has been distorting every fact about Palestine.